and welcome back. I have not posted a video in almost a week. Honestly, you guys haven't missed much. We had Bennett's birthday, which we have not technically celebrated. We went out to dinner for that, and then I'm hoping to eventually have like a little party for him when I get my check. It's just the way that like payday lined up, his birthday and rent, it just is a little difficult. So we're hoping to celebrate that towards the end of the month. Then we had Mother's Day, and I hope all of you had an amazing Mother's Day. I hope you were showered with all of the love. But aside from that, like, we really haven't had much going on. I also feel like this has probably been like the most challenging week for me in regards to parenting. Bennett is just going through this really weird phase. I don't know if it's just because he's 2 or if it's he can sense the baby's coming soon, because I am almost 34 weeks. He is just so whiny and needy and constantly like just having these tantrums, and that's, I'm like, I don't know if it's just because he's 2 or if it's, you know, the baby coming, maybe a mixture of both. I wanted to do a Q&A. I haven't really ever done one of these, and I feel like this is something I wanted to do before the breakup and stuff, and then I felt even more compelled to do it since the breakup, because there is a lot of confusion out there, or people that are just curious how we're doing, how are things, and I wanted to address that. So I will eventually get into that, but before I do, I want to answer the questions that were asked before everything happened. What was Kenny's reaction to this surprise pregnancy? You expressed it wasn't great timing, so how did you get through that? I feel I didn't tell him in the best of a way. We were actually talking about going out to the family cabin, and he was talking about maybe grabbing some drinks to take out there, and I'm like, that sounds so great, but my period's late, I think I could be pregnant, and so it was just a very out of the blue. So it's kind of a lot to take in when you're in the circumstances that we were. Initially, I think it was more or less like he was not necessarily shocked. We know how it happens, and you know, we wanted another baby, just maybe not right at that time. Reaction wasn't bad. It wasn't, you know, great jumping for joy. But I think it was more or less like, oh, okay, like, we're gonna get through this, and you know, we're gonna process this for a little bit. I would say a little bit after that, he was extremely supportive, and I don't really know how to answer that. Like, that was also kind of like so long ago, and so much has like happened in between that I feel like I've kind of blocked it out. But I do remember sitting on the bed telling him that, and you know, him just needing that time to kind of take it in. But there was no like anger or like nasty things said. Like, it was probably more comforting than anything. What was extended family's reaction? That's actually a really good one. We were terrified to tell family, obviously, because of our situation. We were living in essentially my in-laws' basement, so we kept it a secret for a while. I think the first person that knew was my sister. She was super supportive. My mom, super supportive. Kenny's mom, also super supportive. They're all very excited, and they're, at least not to our faces, there was no hard feelings. Has your relationship with your in-laws improved since moving? So I never really had a bad relationship with my in-laws, and I was really thinking hard on like, why would that come across as that? But then I remember saying, I think in like a video, that, you know, there were some problems and some tension and just entitlement, and it had nothing to do with my in-laws. My mother-in-law, I love her to death. Like, she has probably the biggest heart. So she's just a very sweet lady. And then Kenny's stepdad, his parents are divorced, so I have no problems with his stepdad. He's just a very quiet guy, kind of keeps to himself. So I have never really built a relationship with him. Not very many people do, just because, like I said, he's a very quiet, keep to himself kind of guy, and I'm also the same way. I don't do well with building friendships, relationships. I guess I should put that out there, that it was never problems with my in-laws. It was other people in the house, and just the entitlement, the nastiness. Now that you're back in Idaho, how has that changed your co-parenting relationship with Hendrix's dad? It has not changed at all. It hasn't gotten better, it hasn't gotten worse. It's pretty much stayed the same. And it's kind of sad because I feel like a lot of people thought that it would get better because we were so much closer. You know, he lives 30 minutes away from his son and it hasn't gotten better. Maybe that's something I'll talk on a little bit later because I know a few more of you have kind of asked questions in regards to that. So maybe when I get to those, I'll kind of explain a little bit further. But moving didn't change anything at all. Favorite recipes. So honestly, I feel like it depends because obviously like when winter comes, I'm doing a lot of like soup and comforting foods, whereas summer / spring, I'm very like relaxed when it comes to foods. If that even makes sense, I don't feel like that makes sense, but like barbecue chicken, corn, marinated chicken, or ribs. What else? There's my Mexican chicken nachos that I make all the time. I can never get enough of them. They turn out amazing every single time. So maybe I'll leave that down below if you are interested. Picky eater ideas. I wish I had an answer for this. I feel that Hendrix isn't a picky eater. It is something furthermore. I don't know if it's anxiety or OCD. I am looking and highly considering getting him into a nutritionist because his eating habits are just getting worse and I'm not understanding why. And you know, he's a small kid as is, and so you know, people are like, oh, do like Pediasure and stuff, but that just has so much yucky stuff in it that he doesn't need. Like obviously it has like the calories and the protein, things that, you know, he could benefit him, but like it's just another drink that's filled with a bunch of garbage. So I would like to maybe find a better option or a better route to go to get those same things in him, but in a healthier way. I've been kind of researching that a little bit, and then like I said, I do want to get him into the pediatrician to see if they can't refer us to like a nutritionist or, you know, something to kind of get a handle on things because things are just getting worse. If he was just a picky eater, it would honestly make things so much easier. I was a picky eater as a kid. My mom was like, you know, you would go 2-3 months of only eating chicken nuggets, then after that it'd be mac and cheese or peanut butter and jelly, and you know, like you would just like one food for a certain amount of time and then jump to the next. But with Hendrix, like once he decides that he does not like that food, he will not touch it again. Like spaghetti was the one meal I could count on making that he would eat with us as a family. That was the meal we would all eat together, the same thing. And I went to make it the other night and he's like, Mom, I can't eat this. I was like really caught off guard because I'm like, this is like the one food you would eat, you would request, that you asked for all the time, and now you won't even touch it. So it's just made things extremely difficult. So I wish I had a little bit more helpful tips as far as picky eating goes. But honestly, like for me, if there is something, anything that Hendrix likes, it doesn't matter if it's unhealthy or healthy. I obviously advocate for the healthier stuff, but I mean, if it's something like a Danimals yogurt, not the healthiest yogurt on the market, no, but it is something in him. It is something I can count on that will get some kind of calories in him. But I will say that if you have Instagram, there are a few pages that I do follow for picky eating because, you know, that's what I thought it was for the longest time. So if you don't already follow them, I suggest looking up Kids Eat in Color. I'll leave like a little screenshot for you guys. But she talks a lot about, you know, picky eating. I think she even has like a picky eating course. And then she also has like recipes on like how to get like healthier fats or vegetables into like normal meals that most kids wouldn't even know is there. What shows are you currently watching? So I feel like I must be like the most boring person. I don't really like to watch TV. I don't like watching TV. I don't like watching movies. I just have the hardest time sitting there knowing I'm essentially wasting my time when I could be cleaning the house, playing with the kids, you know, editing. A few shows that I have enjoyed and were, I think, on the last season is This Is Us. Kenny got me hooked on it. Yeah, it's a show that's probably gonna make you cry, and I'm not one to watch shows that have like a ton of seasons, but I guess I did watch like Prison Break and, oh, what's the other one? Breaking Bad. Those I feel like had quite a few seasons. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But anything like crime related I really love. Like I think we just watched the one on, oh my goodness, I don't remember his name. I think his last name is Gacy though, and I can't remember his first name, but he ended up killing like 30 or 40 people, and that was just insane. I think that one's on Netflix, so you should definitely watch that if you haven't already. I feel like this is like the sucky part of Netflix, is there's shows that I like and then they just don't finish them, or it takes forever for a season to come out. So I really enjoyed Dead to Me, Lock and Key, that was a really good one. The Haunting of Bly Manor, that was also really good. I don't typically watch shows, so like right now I'm not watching anything unless it's like Ghost Adventures or maybe Hoarders. I'll watch that from time to time just to make me feel a little bit better about my house. I'm like, okay, my house is not that messy. Like I feel a little bit better about it. What is your Starbucks order? So I, believe it or not, think I'm gonna step away from Starbucks just because the drink that I get is so expensive. It is nauseating. It is almost a $9 drink now, and I thought paying $6 for it was cringe, and now that it's almost $9, I'm like, I cannot bring myself, especially when I go there to treat all of us, and you know, Hendrix wants a drink and food, and then Bennett also wants food. It just gets to be like almost $20, and I'm like, that is insane. But I just get a venti iced white chocolate mocha with vanilla sweet cream cold foam and caramel drizzle, extra ice. You have to get the extra ice. I feel like because they put hot espresso in it, or at least most locations do. I don't know if all locations do, most locations do, but when they put the espresso in it, it melts a lot of the ice, and so it's not very cold, and I like my coffee to be very cold. How has Kenny's job been going? So this was asked 2 months ago, so I think he might have been at his previous job when this was asked, which he ended up leaving that job just because, one, there was no benefits, two, he was working insane hours and his checks weren't any more than they were at his previous job, which didn't make hardly any sense. This was obviously during winter, and so it really stressed me out that he would be driving up in the mountains getting stuck, or when he's coming home when it's dark and it's a blizzard outside. Like it really just stressed me out, and I was like, okay, what if I go into labor and you're hours away doing a job and you don't make it back, or you know what I mean? Like there was just so many fears that I had, and so he wasn't very happy with the company anyways, and not really crazy about what he was doing. He felt it was very repetitive. He wasn't really learning anything new, and he's the kind of guy that needs that challenge in order to thrive. He needs that next goal or something to look forward to kind of thrive in his job, which there's nothing wrong with that. I know a lot of people like that. You know, they need those goals, they need those challenges, and I think that's great. So he ended up finding a different job that is in town, which is great because it takes him maybe 10 minutes to get home, off by 4:30, so he's home before 5. And this place has benefits, which is also really great because, as you know, he had to, you know, have a bunch of teeth pulled. I think before insurance it was going to be just over $2,000, and then after insurance we still had to pay $500, but that was a lot better than the $2,000 mark because this was something that needed to be done. It was more or less an emergency. He is happy at his job now, but it's not what he wants to do forever. He's been looking into going to school, and he's also looking into becoming a cop. Those have been like his two things that he's really been tossing back and forth on, and he knows I support him either way. I think that's great. I want to see him happy at a job. I want to see him doing something that he loves every single day, or every work day, I guess I should say. I wouldn't want him working 7 days a week. What kind of music do you listen to? I don't listen to what you hear on like Reels or Today's Music, or I guess TikTok for that matter. Like if you were to go to Spotify, and let me see if I can pull up like a, I don't know if it's like a station, a channel, but like the Mood Booster, some kind of coffee house ones, so basically things that you would hear in Starbucks. But like specific bands per se, or people, The Head and the Heart, Blue October. So more like of the calmer things. Like if I'm cleaning the house, I don't have like this crazy like pop rap music playing. This person asked if I have any plans or goals for the future. Absolutely. I have always wanted to go to school to be a neonatal nurse. I'm very intimidated by it though, because that is, you know, somebody's life in your hands, and I just don't know if I could handle what comes with being a NICU nurse. I've maybe thought about going to be like a labor and delivery nurse, or trying to be somewhere within like the OBGYN office. I don't know exactly what those positions are called though. So I definitely want something within the health field. But then the one thing that has kind of stopped me is that it's like, I feel like that's what every woman does. They either go do hair or they go into nursing. You know, now that Kenny's looking into going to school, I've also have been thinking really hard about it. You know, I obviously want to have this baby and get in the routine of having 3 kids, enjoy the baby for just a little bit, and then I think I will really look into going to school, even if it is online, or, you know, getting part of my generals done. Goals, I would definitely say I really want to buy a house. We are so far from that though, especially with, you know, inflation and the housing market. It is absolutely insane right now. But I would like to say that I'm hoping in like the next 5 years or something we could buy a house. I think that'd be great. I want to, you know, have a place that my kids can grow up and have a backyard and just make those memories there. I would say those are probably like my top 2 goals, is buying a house and going to school. This person asked, how do you find positivity when being a stay-at-home mom? I need this for me. I'm a stay-at-home mom working full-time at home with 3 kids. No friends, nowhere to go to have fun, constantly cleaning, cooking, and catering to everyone. A lot of times I feel like I can't keep up with myself because I'm too busy worrying about everyone else, which is a hard feeling on me because I'm just about 25 and haven't gotten to experience things others have, and that chaos just builds up inside of me for months. I totally get that, and I think any true stay-at-home mom understands that. And I say any true stay-at-home mom because I feel like the YouTubers that get to both be stay-at-home parents and they do YouTube for a living, they have all this money, all this lavish stuff. It is, I don't want to say it's nothing compared to a stereotypical stay-at-home mom that, you know, their husband's working, their spouse is working. You know, they don't have the luxury of, okay, well, we'll just go on a trip. Let's plan this 7th vacation for the year and we'll just go on a trip. You know, and like, I'm not trying to bash them. Like, I think it's great that they've had that success, but I feel like a person who's living a normal life as a stay-at-home mom, it's so different than what you see on YouTube. I totally get not having friends. I honestly probably have never really had friends. For me, what I do just to even give myself a little bit of time to do something that I like, I enjoy coffee. So, you know, now that it's summer, I'll let the kids play outside. I'll have my iced coffee. I'll sit in our little chairs that we have back there and I'll just enjoy my coffee, enjoy the sun. And that is my me time. Are my kids still there? Yes, but they're occupied. I'm doing something I like. There are some days I probably take it for granted. I won't lie. I would be lying if I said I've never taken being a stay-at-home mom for granted, because there are those days where I'm just like, I wish I didn't quit my job. I wish, you know, I still had that side of me. But also I reflect back and remember what it was like. I was the single mom working. I was the single mom working 2 jobs. Remember going without Hendrix a lot because I was working all the time to provide for him. I just remember wishing every single day what I would do to be there for him. I think because of that, I don't want to say I don't. I do everything I can not to take being a stay-at-home mom for granted, because I know what it was like to be the working mom, the mom that worked several jobs, that never saw her kid. Like I said, it might be different for you because it is a lot when you're stuck at home all the time. If I'm at home for more than 3 or 4 days, I go crazy. I would just say that, you know, if you have a partner there or a spouse or whoever, to really express that to them, and I would hope that they'd be understanding enough to be like, okay, let me take the kids. Like, it is very important not to lose yourself, and I know it is easy to also lose yourself being a stay-at-home, especially a stay-at-home working mom. Or I look at just how fast my kids are growing, and it's like, it's not going to be like this forever. One day they're going to be moved out, and then I'm going to have all of these years to myself, and then, you know, like, they're not going to be here. My kids are going to be off doing their own thing, and it's just going to be me, and I will have all of those years. So yeah, I might have missed, you know, the young fun stuff, whatever that is. I will say, like, know that you're not alone. I know the routine, the monotony, like, it all gets to be very overwhelming and very hard and lonely. She also asked, what are my plans for delivery? Natural, tub birth, or epidural? So most hospitals or OBGYNs around here, there is no midwife or the option to have a tub birth. I wanted one with Hendrix, but it just was not a thing. With Bennett, it probably could have been a little bit more of an option because we were in a very big city, and that's a more popular thing to do in Utah, whereas here in Idaho, like, it's a little taboo almost. I have honestly wanted to talk to my doctor about this, and maybe those of you who have had a natural and an epidural can maybe weigh in on this, so maybe I don't feel a little too crazy. But I think I'm going to try to go natural. With Hendrix, I ended up getting the epidural just because I had to be induced due to his growth issues. So obviously I had, you know, the Pitocin. I labored pretty much the entire day, and I think I made it to about an 8 by the time I was like, okay, I need this epidural. Regret having that now because I've had a natural. So with having the epidural, I could not feel anything. I couldn't feel how hard I was pushing. I couldn't feel, you know, where exactly he was at, and I couldn't feel anything. And so I feel because of that, I had to have more intervention than I would like. And I really feel it's just because I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't feel what I was doing. And it's my first baby. I don't know what I'm supposed to be doing. And thankfully my doctor, who's also my doctor now, he was, you know, very encouraging. That, and I feel like my recovery was very hard. I couldn't sit for what felt like weeks. I had really bad back pain for probably the first couple of years where my epidural was. Was it because of the epidural that made my recovery hard? I don't know. Was it because I had all the intervening that I did? Probably. Was it my first baby? Yes. Did I tear? Yes. But also, you know, with Bennett, I didn't have the option of an epidural because he came so fast that by the time I got to the hospital, it was like, okay, you need to push. But I ended up tearing the exact same as I did with Hendrix. However, because I didn't have the epidural, I don't know if it's because of the epidural. This is where I want to talk to my doctor. I'm like, I don't know if I'm crazy or if it's just because my body's done it before, so it, you know, recovered faster. But I feel like because I didn't have the epidural, my body healed so much faster and easier. But as painful as it was, and if I can do it, and, you know, depending on, you know, how things pan out with, you know, this baby's growth, I don't know if I'll have to be induced or, you know, how long I will be laboring for. So it's all very circumstantial. Obviously, you can't really have a birth plan and it stick. But ideally, I would like to go natural. Kenny was incredible, and he honestly was probably the reason why I got through Bennett's birth, because I really thought I was going to die on that hospital bed. Probably sounds very exaggerated, but I just remember like that warm burning sensation going across my chest, feeling my lips swell, and I really thought, I was like, this is it, like, I'm gonna die giving birth. My doctor was not very supportive. If anything, she acted like I was a really big inconvenience, and so I was very focused on Kenny, and he, I'm not even kidding, was the one that got me through the birth of Bennett. But somebody asked if I want more kids or is your family complete with 3. So this is where I've been really stuck, because obviously a lot has changed, and I said with Bennett that, you know, our next baby, I want it to be the right experience. I want to be able to embrace it, enjoy it, and just have the full experience. I feel Kenny missed out on a lot because he had to work so much, which is fine. Like, I'm not, you know, upset. It's just something that I feel super bad about. And so it's like, for the both of us, I want to be able to have the right experience. Well, obviously life has different plans, and I've really struggled to enjoy this pregnancy. And so, you know, part of me is like, okay, well, I'm gonna feel so sad if this is our last baby, and you know, that's what I have to look back on, is just being so sad and not being able to enjoy it. A lot of hard feelings I feel would be towards it, and I feel I would have a lot of postpartum depression. But also, on the other hand, I'm like, well, I almost don't want to have another baby because I don't know what things exactly look like for us. I don't want to have kids with anybody else. Like, Kenny would be it. You know, if we never worked things out, I don't think I'd have any kids with anybody else. Like, the thought of it kind of grosses me out. I don't want 3 baby daddies. But it's like, I also am scared that I'm like, okay, well, what if, you know, the next pregnancy is just as lonely, or, you know, like, I've had just a lot of thoughts. Ideally, I would like to have one more, but that's only if, you know, we were in a good financial spot and I was in a healthy relationship with Kenny, and, you know, things were going very well and I felt comfortable. You know, we have a lot more things to focus on than, you know, having more kids. For all I know, this baby could come and I could be like, oh, like, our family feels complete. I feel satisfied with 3, or I could, you know, still have that feeling of wanting one more. And maybe I'll have that feeling because I do want a girl. I would love to have a girl and to be able to experience that. If I'm meant to just be a boy mom, then I'm just meant to be a boy mom, and that's okay. How is Hendrix liking school? He loves it. We're actually down to, like, essentially the last few weeks of school. I think he's hit, like, that burnout point, but he has loved every minute of it. He's been so positive about it. You know, his teacher has nothing but great things to say. Anytime we've had parent-teacher conference, he's excelled in pretty much anything. If you look at, like, his tests or the things that, you know, they're working on, like, he is just above his goals, and I'm very proud of him. Sorry, I had to switch out my battery. I don't think I've ever filmed a video this long. It's definitely a very talky, chatty kind of video, but these questions are now from Instagram, so these are, like, more recent and more relevant to what you guys have been, you know, wondering. The obvious 2 questions that have been asked are, you know, my relationship status. Are Kenny and I gonna get back together? How are we doing? That kind of thing. So I will just get that out of the way. I mentioned in the breakup video, which I also want to say a lot on that, but in the breakup video, I did say, you know, I would love to eventually get back together. He has asked to get back together, but I feel that I need to see a few steps taken in the right direction before we establish that. So I did put out there, yes, I would like to get back together. Of course, I want my family to be a whole family and not have the co-parenting thing, which I know it's not always a bad thing. Sometimes it is far better off to do the co-parenting thing if things are really that bad. However, you know, Kenny and I know that the things that are going on within our relationship, those things are fixable. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of healing. It's going to take possibly even some counseling for the both of us. We have gotten back together. You know, we are working on things. We actually went on a date probably like a week after we broke up, and it was really nice. It was really needed, and I think it reminded both of us just how much we click and how much we enjoy being around each other. We were just, you know, smiling and laughing, and it felt so good just to, like, rekindle that. He brought me flowers, he asked me out on a date, and, like, those are all things that he wanted to do. He realized that, you know, he made a very big mistake, and I think something that I don't want to put too far out there into detail is that, you know, he does struggle with some things. I wouldn't say struggle. maybe struggle isn't the right word, but there are things that he would typically be medicated for that he hasn't been, just due to finances, no insurance. You know, it's a very expensive medication, but it's something that he really, really needs. And, you know, it helps manage his thoughts and to maybe not make so many impulsive decisions. Obviously know more than what is being put out there, and so I don't want to talk about the things that he struggles with, the problems he may have, or, you know, things about his health, but all of that goes into play. And so I was very understanding, because I know the impulsive decisions were a very big thing during that time. You know, he realized that he made a mistake really quick. You know, we came up with a little bit of a plan. What are we working towards? What do we want to see happen? That communication really has helped. I don't know, I feel no matter how much I back us up or justify it or whatever, people are still going to take it and run. I would say we are back together. We are definitely working on things, and some people might hate me for that, but I would love to be able to tell my kids that I tried absolutely everything possible to keep our family together. I would hate to have that little bit of room for, well, what if I did this, or what if I did that, or what if, you know what I mean? Like, it's not an abusive relationship. Like, there's nothing, you know, with like hard drugs or something that is like really like scary or something. Like, it is just a lot of mental health issues that have really affected our relationship from both sides. You know, both of us are struggling with it, and it's like you can't hold each other up if you're both struggling. Alongside that, with the breakup video, like, I did not make the breakup video to bash Kenny. It was more or less to bring awareness of men's mental health. I feel men have this stigma that they have to be this big, strong, mighty man. They're not allowed to have feelings. They can't show emotion because they are man. We are all human. We all have emotions. We all go through things. And so I want to bring awareness to that, because I feel very fortunate that the worst outcome was us breaking up. The outcome could have been so much worse with how low he was in his headspace. If you guys know, I think your channel name is or was Cam and Fam. You know, her husband was struggling really bad with mental health and ended up taking his own life. And so it's like that could have been our situation, and I'm very thankful that it wasn't. You know, a breakup, we can come back from that. It just goes to show how cruel our world can be, because it's like, here I am talking about how Kenny's really struggling, and you know, this is where he started, and this is how it's kind of fallen apart. This is where he's at, and he's in a very, very not so great spot. And people are on here like, wow, he is trash, he is this, he is that. And it's just like, I could not even imagine somebody talking about their mental health or their spouse's mental health, and it's like, you as a person, that's what you want to say. That probably says more about you than me. And for all you know, that comment could be just enough to push somebody over. He is the father to my kids, and I will always stand behind him, especially when it comes to his mental health. He is a great dad. It's just a huge reminder to just be kind to one another. Just because I'm putting my life out there does not mean that I am not any less human than your neighbor or the person you pass walking the street or whatever. I have feelings. This is my family. Kenny has feelings. He is human, and he's dealing with a lot, struggling with a lot. Just how ignorant some of the people were was also mind-blowing. Somebody had commented and said, you know, well, my husband or whoever, they deal with mental health, but they can still be this golden husband. Not everybody is going to deal with it in the same way. Somebody might be dealing with it on a different level than your aunt, your cousin, your brother, whoever. You know, nobody is going to handle a situation the same. I feel it's very ignorant for somebody to say, that I am making excuses for him. You know, his mental health, oh, that's just an excuse. Like, no, this is something I have seen him struggle with, and it get worse and worse and worse. I have seen this man have breakdowns. I've seen him struggle. You don't say that to somebody who's already feeling bad about themselves, that's already struggling to find their worth. I guess people were also like questioning, you know, when we did split, was he still living here? He was still living here. This is still our home. I'm not a big YouTuber who has all this money that can just go get her own apartment and go buy my own car or go buy my own house and we split things, everything's great. I am just your average person. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I don't have a job. I have hardly really any income. I don't have anything. Realistically, I don't have anything. So yeah, we would have to live with each other for a while until I could get on my feet. Or my next option would be to go to Nevada to live back with my mom and stepdad. Realistically, that's not something I'd want to do because I would never want to take Kenny's kids away if that were to be the outcome. I couldn't fathom tearing that relationship apart because both Hendrix and Bennett adore Kenny. Like, they have a strong bond, a strong relationship, and I just couldn't fathom breaking that apart. So realistically, yeah, we would still be living together. Were we sleeping in the same bed for a while? No. Those are the kind of like the details that I don't want to go into. That's not really something I want to put out there for my kids to remember, or really even anything for me to remember, because it was just such a sad thing to see. Yeah, we were still living together, but were we actually together? No. Was he still helping out financially? Yes. What was it like living with your ex? So honestly, like, it wasn't like constant fighting or anything of that sort. If anything, it was probably really hard not to give the affection that was there, because it's just like, you know, one day you're loving on each other, showing all this affection, and then the next day it's gone. And when you're still so madly in love with that person, it's hard to like take that step back and be like, oh, you can't do that. That was probably like the hardest part of it for me anyways. I don't know about him, I can't speak for him obviously, but you know, it wasn't like this constant ugly arguing. Yeah, a lot of questions on, I'm curious where Hendrix's dad is. Does he pay child support, have visiting rights? Does Hendrix ever see his biological dad? What's the situation? So this is something I don't ever talk about on my channel, just because it is kind of like a sensitive thing. It's a very personal thing. I don't even know where to start because I haven't talked about it in so long. But to keep it short and sweet, I guess you could say that he's not involved at all. He's always had this pattern of being there for a week or two a month on a really good circumstance, a month, and then he would dip for several months. He wouldn't text, he wouldn't call, wouldn't come see him, nothing. It was like that in Utah. And you know, when we moved back to Idaho, because that is, you know, where his dad lives, most people thought it was going to get better, that he, oh well, he's going to be closer to his son, like the bond, the relationship, it's all going to get so much better. I didn't have high hopes. Obviously he knew that we moved back, and he maybe has seen Hendrix 5 times the whole year that we have been back. And part of that wasn't even because it was what he wanted, it's because his parents had him. He just would make a lot of excuses as to why he wasn't around. Maybe it's because he's working 40-50 hours, or this last time it was because his mental health was just really bad, which I'm understanding to an extent, because I've obviously watched Kenny struggle, and he has not been any less of a dad. He has made sure to be there for the kids and to love them and give them attention and still be dad. For me, I was, you know, before moving to Utah, I was the single mom working 2 jobs. I would work from, you know, 6-7 a.m. to 9 p.m. and in that little break of the 2 jobs, I would go grocery shopping. I would pick up Hendrix to take him with me because that was our time together. Jamba Juice is right there. We'll grab a little treat. Let's go grocery shopping. This way I'm at least spending some time with you. Maybe it's not something super fun, but he still enjoyed it and knew that I was still there for him. Then obviously on my days off, I would have him, you know, the entire time. Or if I, you know, only worked one day at one job and had the rest of the day off, I would take him. When it came down to moving to Utah, obviously I didn't have Hendrix right away. You know, we had to figure some things out. Okay, daycare, childcare, what are we gonna do? I eventually ended up quitting my job. But when I was working, you know, mind you, I'm in a completely different state. I would work a full-time job. I would get off at 9, 10 o'clock. I would go home, pack my bag, and I would drive through the night, stay at my sister's, sleep at the rest area, whatever I had to do to make sure that when Hendrix woke up, I was right there. Any day off that I had, it wasn't to spend it with Kenny, it was to be there for my son. If I had the weekend off or 2 consecutive days off, I would drive all the way to Utah, or to Idaho and back to Utah and bring Hendrix with me to have him for those few days. His dad did nothing like that. He would have a few days off. He would never get a hotel and keep Hendrix to have multiple days with him. It would be for a few hours and then, okay, here you go, I gotta go. So that was really frustrating, and I think the hardest thing was watching Hendrix go through it. You know, one minute his dad is there, he's calling, he's texting to check in on him. He'll come visit him, and then he just dips for months at a time. You know, that takes a really big toll on a child. They're not understanding why. They're not old enough to understand why. And so I could really see the effects on Hendrix. You know, at this time he was, I think he was about to turn 4. So I mean, it's very hard for a child to communicate and express their feelings at that age. Moving back to Idaho didn't change anything. He hasn't called really, he hasn't texted much. I did finally get child support set up because I was just so sick of it. He still lives at home. He has very minimal responsibilities. Like, the least he could be doing is helping financially support his child. So I did mention that I get a little bit from that. It's not much. It doesn't go very far. Am I thankful for it? Yes, because it does help cover some expenses, but it does not go very far. I haven't heard from him for several months, and then I think one day I texted him and I was like, hey, like, I'm kind of short on money. Hendrix really needs, I think it was like school clothes or something at the time, and I was like, do you have, you know, anything extra that you might be able to like chip in? And the few times that I have done this, it's always ended up being like a pity party. Feel bad for me, not me, but him. Like, he is just struggling, doesn't know what he's doing in life. It's always just a really big pity party. And so this last time he pulled that card again of, I'm struggling, poor me, I should be there for Hendrix, I'm sure he misses me. And it's just gotten to the point where like Hendrix doesn't even ask about his dad. Like, he is fully aware, you know, he's almost 7, he's fully aware that his dad is just flat out not there. I actually just discovered this the other day because I tried reaching out to him again to, you know, hey, Hendrix really would love a bike. His brother got one for his birthday, and, you know, the child support that I got just doesn't quite cover, you know, the bike that he wants. I also have a few things that I need to get for his diet because I would like to get him on a protein powder. You know, like, there's just things that I kind of need help with. I got no response, and so I found out that he blocked me on all social media, and I don't know if that means that he blocked my number also. And I don't know if it's maybe because I kind of stuck up for Hendrix in our last conversation, because he was asking for things like, oh, okay, well, I know I haven't been in his life very much the last year or 2, but I would like to call, you know, 4 or 5 times a week, and I'll text you to check in. Could you also send me pictures regularly? And it's just like, you live a half hour away from your child. You also just got done telling me that you're off work by 3, 4 o'clock every single day. Like, there's absolutely no excuse. There is no excuse whatsoever why you cannot be there for your child physically in person. It is not my job to make you a part of Hendrix's life. I put out there that, you know, I know it is a very sensitive subject for Hendrix, and I want to leave it in his hands if that is something he would like to do. You know, would he like to make phone calls to you? Would he like to answer those phone calls? Would he be okay sending pictures to his dad? Would he want his dad a part of that? You know, I know Hendrix is a very smart kid, and maybe, you know, I shouldn't be leaving it fully in his hands, but because he has expressed previously, you know, how much it has affected him, and we've seen the effects, I want him to be comfortable. And so I don't know if that maybe ticked his dad off that I, you know, was kind of leaving it up to Hendrix because it is such a sensitive topic for him. I honestly have no idea. I do not feel it was wrong of me. I am obviously there to protect my children the best that I can, and I just can no longer see Hendrix being hurt over and over and over and over again. And so I feel I needed to put that boundary up, because that is something Hendrix is not fully able to do. That is his own choice. That was his own doing. He, like I said, I personally feel that there was no excuse for him to not see his son, because I've been the mom that worked 2 jobs. I was the mom that lived a whole different state away, and I made sure that mom was still there. Mom's never left. Mom has always been there. So I mean, Hendrix doesn't really express missing his dad. I think, like I said, the older he's gotten, he's really clicked with things, because for the longest time I think his dad told him, I live at work, I work so much, I live at work. And so Hendrix would come back to me and be like, yeah, my dad's at work, he's probably sleeping at work. And you know, I think it finally dawned on him that, wait, Kenny goes to work, but he also comes home. I just think, you know, over the last year, things have really clicked for Hendrix, and it's a very sad situation, because it's like, I wouldn't ever want to take Hendrix's dad away from him. That is his dad. That'll always be his dad. I am very thankful that Kenny has been the father figure that he has, and you know, even through the breakup and everything, like, he has treated Hendrix no different. The last question somebody asked, that I can see anyway, is that if Kenny and I were still separated when the baby was born, would he be in the room? And absolutely, like, there's no questions asked. Like, that is his son, and it's a very big moment. There's no reason why I wouldn't want him there, especially because, like I said, he's the one that got me through Bennett's delivery, that I wouldn't want anybody else in the room other than him. Yeah, I guess if you guys have any questions, like, I would be happy to make a part 2 or talk about it in a vlog if it's just like a question or 2. Thank you for watching. It was kind of fun to do a Q&A. It kind of felt like I was just sitting down talking to a friend, and I mean, you guys are my friends, you're like my family, so I don't know, maybe I'll do more of these, but I feel like my life isn't very exciting enough to do a ton of Q&As, so I don't know. But thank you for watching, and I will see you in our next video. Bye.